Hi everyone, my name is Melody. Welcome to my channel, and we talk a lot about shopping addiction here and shopping and no buys. So I have a no buy update for you, and it is very unexpected, I think. I wasn't expecting it when I started my no buy at the beginning of the year to be giving this sort of an update. But basically, we've made it just about halfway, and I think I've reaped the benefits I am going to get from it. I've learned so much, and I'm going to talk about that. And so I'm actually going to move on to the idea I had for what was coming up. I was thinking I'd go the entire year of 2021 on a no buy, but I don't think it's going to be beneficial for me anymore. And I think it would get to the point then that it was frustrating, and then it wouldn't be serving me anymore. So I'm going to move on. And I'll talk about what that's going to look like. But first, I want to talk about the things that I've learned on this no buy. So one of the big reasons I did the no buy was to detox from shopping. And people might say that like in a joking way, but I actually say that very seriously. I needed to get the shopping out of my system because I do see myself as having a true shopping addiction. I don't think everybody who struggles with shopping has a shopping addiction. I don't think that everybody who is on a no buy has a shopping addiction. I think sometimes people just really like to shop, but then there are some that do truly have a shopping addiction, and I would put myself in that category. Reason being, very, very simply put, is I wanted to stop and couldn't. So some people want to stop and they say they're not going to shop anymore, and then they stop. And that to me doesn't seem like an addiction. But I mean, I have many more reasons why I believe I have a true shopping addiction, which have been mentioned here and there throughout in previous videos. And if you want me to do a video specifically on that, I can definitely do that. Just please leave a comment. But I detoxed at the beginning of the year when I did my shopping. I went through the part where it was really hard not to shop. I went through all the things that took place of shopping, as in the physical things, the physical scrolling, the things I would do so that my brain was getting the same or similar sort of stimulation to when I was shopping, and then I didn't need to do those things anymore. So I feel like I was detoxed from that. And then I went through that period of time where I was cashing in all those hall passes, and I wasn't doing it to be rebellious or cheat on my no buy, but that's not how it started, but then it kind of went that direction. And during that time, I fell back into some of my old habits and some of my old thought processes, like, ooh, if I could just get this one thing, I still remember it was like this color blue Surratt eyeshadow, then I'll have everything I need and I can stop shopping. And when I had that thought, it really scared me because I was like, am I ever going to be over this shopping addiction? And the answer is no, I'm not going to be, as far as I can tell. And that's something that I really learned during this time. So directly after cashing in on all those hall passes, I went through a period of time where I was doing a lot of justifying with the things that I was purchasing. And I could fit them into hall passes, but I didn't need to use those hall passes. And there were times that I was like, no, it doesn't really fit. I was still using some discretion. I wasn't shopping out of control. It was not well controlled, but it wasn't super out of control. And I kind of got annoyed with it and with that behavior. But when I got to the point where I was annoyed with that behavior, I was able to control it. And I don't think before my no-buy, I would have been able to do that, at least not nearly as easily. I also was able, during this time, was able to put into perspective this statement. And it was in one of my videos that this statement came, and that sometimes insight does things that can be so powerful. And that insight was really what my no-buy is about, is I want to be in control of my behaviors, and I don't want my behaviors to be in control of me. I don't want my shopping behaviors to prevent me from doing the things that are really important in life. And that's where I was before my no-buy. I was spending way too much money, to the point where when I needed money to actually take care of a need, I mean, I'm not talking like groceries or things as fundamental as that, but like I needed face wash. Buying face wash should be simple, but it wasn't simple for me because all of my discretionary spending was going to indulgent items. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about moving forward. One of the concepts I want to make sure that I am cognizant of in my next stage of this project and the next phase of my channel is that I want to curb my indulgent spending, and I have been, except for that period of time right with my hall passes. I have been, and I did go a little bit too crazy with the hall passes, and then I leveled out. So I went from nothing, which I needed to do, to a little bit of craziness to leveling out. And I foresee the future of my shopping habits being a cycle. I might get to the point where I'm out of control again. I hope not, but if I am, I'm going to deal with it. And I think one of the big ways I can deal with that is to cut myself off for a while, go through the detox, and then move forward from there. And my out of control shopping in this cycle did not last super long, and it wasn't nearly as bad as before. So that's one thing in my new rules, or revamped no-buy, low-buy, whatever we want to call it. And I will probably come out with something a little bit more formal. This is mostly just me sharing my thoughts and my insights and my big vision for the future of this. So one is to have very controlled indulgent spending. If retailers have the same level of Black Friday sales this year that they did last year, I'm going to need to implement some very concrete rules. Until I don't feel in control of my behavior, I think I can go with more abstract rules, and that takes me being very honest with myself. And I think I was able to have or form that sort of relationship with myself through this no-buy. So that's another learning, is that I need to be honest with myself, and that I was able to be honest with myself. That's the piece that I learned. So I'm going to have some verbiage in my revamp about indulgencies. The second thing that I want to pay attention to is I want to implement some of my concepts of ethical consumerism. I shouldn't say implement, but either re-implement or keep in mind when I am shopping that thrifting is better for the environment, it's better for my pocketbook, and it's better for the people around the world that are forced to work in sweatshops if I buy secondhand instead of new. So even though I'm not in the market to buy new clothes right now, I'm using clothes as an example, if I am in the future, I'm going to pay attention to thrifting. I also plan to buy secondhand for jewelry and that sort of thing. Okay, sorry, I got really distracted and I'm gonna have to refocus. So anyway, the concepts that I want to implement moving forward: thrifting, sub boxes. So that was one of my stop shopping strategies that I was thinking, because I was going to let my annual subscriptions run out until my no-buy was over, and then re-implement them next year. But I think I'm just going to continue with my subscription boxes and let that be the scratch to the itch for shopping for me in many ways. And it really works for me when I'm disciplined, when I'm in this controlled type behavior. So for now, I think I'm in a place where I don't necessarily have to have concrete rules around subscription boxes in terms of add-ons and extra items and all those things. I'm going to go back to that indulgency. If it feels like an indulgency, I'm not going to get it, or I'll allow myself one, or whatever feels right. And again, if it gets to the point where it's out of control, and it takes me being honest with myself, then I will put in some concrete rules. Another thing that I'm going to do moving forward is, instead of giving myself this whole wide, big world of Sephora, for example, I am going to focus on certain brands. So if I feel like there's all these new releases coming at me that are super, super tempting, I'm just going to have an affinity for a handful of brands and let myself have a little bit more leeway with those brands, but not feel like I need to keep up with all of the brands. So that's going to help me be in a little bit more control as well. I know that some of those brands are going to be Charlotte Tilbury and NARS. Those are two big ones in terms of new products. Tarte is one that works really well for me, but not usually with their new products. It's like their foundation and their mascaras and that sort of thing. So those are more my staple and more consumable items. So I'm going to focus on Tarte, but in a different way than Charlotte Tilbury and NARS. If ABH ever comes out with a good eyeshadow palette again, I would definitely be interested in that. Same with Sigma, and Bite, if they ever get good lipsticks again. Come on, Bite. I used to be a huge fan of yours. Anyway, those are some examples of the brands that I would focus on, and I do really believe that that will help me feel a little bit more in control. Another thing that I want to focus on is selling and swapping. So I haven't shared yet in detail on my channel about some of the things that I've recently sold and what I've purchased with that money. So before I decided to do this major overhaul in my no buy low buy, I sold my two large Natasha Denona palettes, so Bronze and Glam, and with that money I sold my Friendcation, my Dose of Colors Friendcation. With that money, I purchased a few NARS palettes. I go on mostly Mercari, but a little bit on Poshmark, and I look for new and like new. I mostly go for new. If something's like, I swatched this one shimmer shade, that's fine. I feel like I can alcohol that. I'm not really into buying used makeup. If somebody wants to buy my used makeup, great. So I sold those three, and I was able to buy a few NARS palettes. I finally bought these earrings. These were in a Rachel Zoe box. Winter of 17 or 18, I don't remember. But I've wanted them ever since. And I couldn't afford the box at that point in life. And that is further I don't want to say justification because I don't feel like I need to justify it, but it further supports my practice of subscription boxes being a good alternative to out of control spending, because like Rachel Zoe stuff, I look at her boxes and her aesthetic is exactly my aesthetic. Exactly is a little strong of a word, but almost always I'm in love with her boxes. And then when I have the willpower to not get her box, I then spend the following years trying to accumulate the stuff that was in those boxes. So to me, it just makes more sense to get those boxes if I can be disciplined in other areas of shopping. So speaking of, and let me just say, so I'm planning on renewing my FabFitFun. I did sign up for a curator seasonal membership. So the spring should be on its way, and the summer is going to bill shortly, and then that will be on its way. Spring, I got a really good deal. I'm excited about that. And then FabFitFun is renewing this season for me. Oh yeah, CauseBox. I have 2 more boxes in my summer and fall in my annual subscription, and we'll see. I don't know. I may take a break from them for a while. I honestly have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth from CauseBox and the CauseBox subscriber community. I kind of want to make a video about that. It's just some funny. They take themselves very seriously. They really do. Maybe somebody wants to drop the name Karen around them somewhere. Yeah, they take themselves seriously. Okay, so I talked a little bit about buying and selling. I also am into swapping. I did make a video on how to swap, but I'm not super good at my video editing, if you haven't been able to tell, and I can't figure out how to block out people's information. I mean, it doesn't show too much, but their profile picture and their name and the city they live in. So enough that I don't feel comfortable putting that out there on the internet. It's not my call to do, so might even be illegal. I don't know. But if I can figure that out, I will upload that. If not, I might re-record in a way that doesn't show that. We'll see. But swapping is another great alternative. That's through the mysubscriptionaddiction.com website. There's a waiting period for you to be able to swap. At least there was when I signed up, but that was years ago, so I don't know how it works now. There's a little bit of a probation period. You have to ship your stuff first until you have, I think, 3 or 5 successful sales. So those are a few things I want to talk about or focus on. I also want to talk a little bit about Mercari versus Poshmark. Maybe even versus like freelance forum swapping, but not swapping, selling, because they definitely each have their own culture. Mercari is a different culture than Poshmark, and Poshmark is different than Facebook groups and whatever. It's just, I've only done a few, like a dozen, less than a dozen from each of them. It's been enough that I kind of am able to see some trends in it. Another strategy I'm going to use moving forward is crafting and creating. So I always have vision for things. I'll look at something and be like, I could do that with it, I could do this with it, and then I never do it. Not never, but I rarely move forward with those plans. And I've been watching Flea Market Flip lately. I haven't had cable in years, and then I signed up for Discovery Plus a few months ago, and I was mostly focused on the true crime, but then I got into the house stuff because I'm going to be buying a house recently. So I started watching Flea Market Flip, and there's just, when they're walking around the flea market sourcing their stuff, like I would have a heyday with so many of these items. So I want to get into doing that, sourcing things and just being creative with it. I think much of that stuff is sold for way too high, so I probably won't charge that much unless I can, then I might. But I think I would have a lot of fun doing that, not only flipping, but also keeping some of the items for myself. And the last thing I want to talk about for moving forward is that I am going to be buying a house soon-ish. And so I think that I can turn my focus a little bit to, and focus, I mean, on my channel and also my brain, like how my brain is spending its time and where it's. So again, instead of like that scrolling, I can put that mental energy into creating new things for my home. And I just need to be careful. And this is one of those things I learned from this first, part of the year doing this no buy, is that I really have to be careful not to go too far. And when I get to the point where even those purchases and creating things feels indulgent, then I need to put the brakes on. So I think that's everything I have to say for this no buy update. I'm sure there'll be more, even though I might not call them no buy updates anymore because it won't really be a no buy. But on the other hand, my summer is going to be so crazy that I won't even have time to think about the fact that I'm not shopping. Which I think will be good. I think that'll be really good because I won't have the limitations of the no buy on me, but I also won't be sitting in my house with nothing to do. So that's good. Also, I do want to make clear that I'm still going to do my I did not buy it videos. I'm still going to be saving up for vacation. I'm just not going to have the hard concrete rules about not shopping because, again, I've reaped the benefits and I am ready to move forward just a little bit sooner than I thought I was going to want to move forward. And this doesn't, to me, this doesn't feel like quitting. It just feels like accomplishing it faster than I thought and then moving on to the next thing. If it felt like quitting, I paused for a long time before I made this decision to move forward to determine if I was quitting. Am I backing out because it's too hard? That definitely was not it. So I was able to determine that this is just how it's going to serve me best. So, like always, I want to hear from you and how you're doing with your efforts, whether they're changing, whether they're staying the same. Please leave your comments below. You may have noticed that we're facing a different direction in this video. You probably don't even care, but I was all set up. I was doing a get ready with me, but I have no idea how much of it I recorded. But anyway, because I was set up here, I thought it might just be easier to stay here for this video. So that's it. Like every other time, I really do thank you for watching. I'm appreciative of every single one of you who is subscribed, and I hope that we continue to grow here and share insights as we battle shopping addiction together, as we talk about ethical and responsible consumerism, thrifting, and all those fun things that we talked about in this video. I would love to hear all about it. In the words of Karen Harris, without further blabbering, I'm going to end this video. Bye. That's so loud. Your lady is so loud. It's okay.